Hello, here's my new intro. Where is he? Patrick! Are you climbing the piano? You say hi? Dada! Alright. Anyway, back to business. We are doing lesson 8 today. Make sure you go to your contents page and highlight and sign off on that. This dot point traditionally can confuse people, or it can seem daunting, because there's sort of two words here, heroes and mythology, in relation to the media and consumption, the relationship between it all. It can be quite a bit. So we will spend a little bit of time unpacking this dot point, and then there are a few questions here for you to complete. So we'll start with the dot point. So the relationship of heroes and mythology to media and consumption. So we'll start by defining heroes and mythology. So they're very much intertwined. So heroes are part of the mythology that helps give sitcoms its identity and longevity. So what we mean by hero here is that in sitcoms, the plot line is very much driven by a main protagonist, or a hero, as we can call them. And because usually by the episode's end, there's a problem that needs to be resolved, and someone, I guess we would say, is the hero, because they support and personify the main mythological themes of the show that help bring it to a resolved and a happy conclusion. So if we were to look at, for example, the mythological themes, so mythology, we know, is another word we could use for that, I guess, is stereotypes. So mythologies are assumptions based off beliefs and values about a certain person or a certain gender or a certain way that something's represented. So if we look at Brooklyn Nine-Nine, for example, Holt really does personify that hero in the fact that he's a strong, smart, fearless leader of a police task force. Other heroes can be people that serve as role models for fans. So if we're looking again, Amy's character, for example, from Big Bang Theory, she's an accomplished female scientist in a very male-dominated industry. So you could refer to her as a hero, especially given the mythology that she surrounds as being that strong female scientist figure. Other things as well can help contribute to that mythology. In Big Bang Theory, for example, there's literally superhero props in the apartment, but even production such as lighting, costumes and set design help perpetuate certain myths in the different scenarios that you encounter within a sitcom. And so that helps the media and consumption of it as well, which we'll get to in a second. So the outcome of this is, if we have that hero or that problem at the start of the episode, it's usually fixed or resolved by the end of it. And that's due to the heroes, but it's also due to the mythology surrounding those heroes as well, in terms of the characters and the types of characters that they portray. So for example, one character might be kind of like the villain, where they're the one causing all the problems, whereas the other protagonist might be the one who comes and saves the day and fixes and resolves a lot of it. So that's sort of the relationship here to sitcoms. I hope that makes sense. We can talk about it a bit more in class if not, but you can also, beauty of the video, rewind and listen to my explanation again if you need to. I wanted to throw a concept here in terms of heroes and mythology, and that's the concept of gender. And we've got a few clips from different sitcoms that you guys are going to watch. So on a broader level, historically female sitcom characters, they were depicted in the traditional role, such as the housewife, secretaries, or in the fashion industry. We see that in Friends, with Rachel and Monica's job, both very domestic and feminine in nature in the traditional sense. But also there's this idea that their characters, if we're looking at the heroes section, are kind of labelled as the damsel in distress or highly emotional, and they're waiting for the male hero to come save the day or the problem. So you see it all the time in particularly older sitcoms. in Friends, where, like, say, Everybody Loves Raymond, for example, there's a common trope that Raymond's mother is always arguing with his wife, so Deborah and Marie are hacking at it, and it takes Raymond as the man and the hero to come in and save the day and solve their problem and move on. So that really, I guess, patriarchal hero trope is very common in older sitcoms. Likewise, men are shown in their profession and their mythology as aggressive, tough, business orientated. They're usually the guys earning most of the money as well, because of, again, that link to mythology surrounding gender roles and the idea that they're that hero or that main protagonist. So some examples you can see here are from certain sitcoms. So I'll pop those links in the description of the Google Classroom post. Please do watch them all, because in your exam, in your questions here, you need to draw examples, and these are some examples that you can draw from. So the first one is from The Office, showing gender stereotypes. The second one is from Friends, again showing stereotypes when Ross, his ex-wife, gives his son a Barbie doll and he's not happy about it. And then Friends, there's some other clips that perpetuate mythology surrounding gender. So once you have watched those, watch them now. We'll move on to the next page. Alright, so now that you've definitely watched those videos, I'm going to break down these 3 questions, and then that's your lesson. So 1, how do heroes in mythology reflect a patriarchal Western society? Provide examples. So these aren't necessarily Peel questions. These are just typical comprehension questions. I'm trying to just test your knowledge of the content that you've just learned. So how do heroes in mythology reflect a patriarchal Western society? Patriarchal meaning male-dominated, traditional masculinity, the oppressive sort of regime there, and provide some examples from sitcoms there. So how do they reflect a patriarchal Western society? So what we're trying to ask is, in the show, how the characters, because sitcoms, remember, are reflecting our everyday life, how is a patriarchal society reflected in that show? So for example, if Ross and Chandler's jobs in Friends, or is there a particular scene, or if we look at probably that one from Friends here, would be a good example to use. Make sure you watch it. Question 2 is describe the myths associated with teenagers, adults, and the elderly in sitcoms. And you should get enough of that from these 3 videos. So when we're looking at, you could even just write teenagers dash adults dash elderly dash and talk about the myths associated with them in sitcoms. And then which sitcoms consciously oppose mainstream heroes and myths. So what we're talking about there are which sitcoms, I guess, make a point of really not going down that traditional patriarchal mythology and hero archetypes. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is one that you could use to explain an example on how that conveys it. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air might be another one because of the type of casting that they have. So there's a couple there that you could look at to see the types of sitcoms which consciously oppose those mainstream heroes and myths. Apart from that, that's lesson 8. See you in the next one.